Meeting to order for the Village of Mount Pleasant Plan Commission for June
long dead.
19th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Meyer,
Here.
Brisler,
Here.
Van Beckham,
Here.
Batia,
Here.
Bazanowski,
Here.
Driver.
Here. Next is the approval of the May 22nd, 2024 Plan Commission meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the May 22nd, 2024 Planning Commission minutes of the meeting.
I have a correction.
Yep.
In the approval of the April 17th minutes, seconded by trustee Rissler. I am not a trustee. I should be commissioner, but outside of that, I would second his motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second with correction. Any other comments?
I've got one other correction. Under the number 5, ordinance 12-2024, we had, motion was by trustee Washburn to recommend approval, and there's no second. Was that just for information purposes, that one?
The ordinances.
Parks
the
and
park board?
Recreation, yeah. What did we do with
We
that?
would need to have a second, no matter what, so,
Anyway, there's no second under that.
yeah, if there's no second, then there should have been one. Are you looking for a packet? They're, at the front desk.
Okay, anybody remember seconding that?
Anyone going to second?
I'll have notes, so I'll look back in the notes.
Okay.
I must have just missed it, sorry.
No, not a problem.
Because we don't have a vote on it either, that's why
I think something's left off.
something got mixed up there.
Yeah.
For some
That was
reason.
that was a fairly complicated,
Unless you want to just carry this over and just do it again next month, we can do that too.
I think she said she's got minutes,
Oh,
so
okay,
she'll go through them correct.
okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion.
I abstain.
One abstention. Tosh
I
abstained.
do want to commend my fellows for reading the minutes so diligently. I'm impressed.
All right, then we'll give you a minute to get settled there, Tom.
Oh, go ahead, I'm all set.
Okay. Then under new business, ordinance 14, 2024, a zoning map amendment for 4216 Old Green Bay Road, ZMA 24-5.
if I could, I can, request that we consider the first, second, and third items together.
Any opposition to that? No. Good to go?
Are we gonna do it with one motion then, or?
Yeah, they're all interconnected. None of them can pass without the other.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
All together?
so this is ordinance 14, 2024, 4216 Old Green Bay Road, zoning amendment, ZMA 24-5, a certified survey map, CSM 24-2, and a conditional use, CU 24-2. William Morris, architect, applied on behalf of the owner, Open Arms LLC, which will be bought from St. Mary's Medical Center. So the purpose of this is to divide a 2.66 acre piece from the 17.9 acre parcel via certified survey map in order to amend the zoning map from the property from C2 to RH1 to be able to request a conditional use permit to operate a senior care facility for 25 residents per 90-320.60, parent B, parent 2. The applicants and Open Arms LLC are adapting the existing building, which just used to be a medical clinic, on the north end of the site for a CBRF. It's a community-based residential facility. No current expansion of the building or site is planned, but a site plan would be needed, would be required as necessary. There is some excess parking and kind of an outlot position for them to be able to do that in the future if they wanted. But so going through the requirements that it meets the existing base zoning requirements, it contains the conditions of the conditional use requires that it acknowledges that the CBRF have 1 bedroom per resident, and they have acknowledged that, and they say that in the application materials. The requirements for conditional uses other than the specific one, are listed in the executive summary. And we kind of bunched them all together. And because this is an adaptive reuse, that's actually probably less intense than the use it's replacing. It satisfies all of those requirements for basically infrastructure, effect on the community, all of that sort of stuff. And we decided we would not be doing a fiscal impact analysis of this particular site because it's kind of like a unique thing and fairly complicated. The only other thing is that the comprehensive plan identifies this area as institutional. With assistance from the community development director, we determined that a CBRF does qualify as institutional, so that a residential zoning would be appropriate for that. So a CBRF could be cited within residential zoning here, but an actual residential facility like multifamily would not be okay under this master plan jurisdiction. If that makes sense? Yeah, y'all probably don't even care, but like that's what we that's what we determined. So any questions? It's pretty straightforward, and there's not a whole lot here just because most of the actual materials are going to be just submitted to our building department to redo the interior. It just happened to trigger 3 different applications all at once.
Is there any chance that they would ever paint the building so the bricks are all one color? Instead of being the ugliest building in the village?
I can put in that request. I mean, they'll probably do something of that nature. They're doing a lot of cosmetic work, so yeah, sure.
Robin, I just a question then. When we make a recommendation, I assume you want us to look at the proposed language on page 4 of the first executive summary, because that one recommendation for approval, seems to cover all 3 items up for agenda. So this is what you want us to.
Yes.
Okay, so we just read this recommendation,
Yes.
and then when it refers to subject to the recommended conditions, then that would be a reference to whatever conditions tagged to each of the 3.
Yeah, and so, but there's really not that many conditions. It's just that, the only condition is that they apply for building and site plan permits as necessary. But they need the rezone to do the CSM, and they need the conditional use to have the rezone to do what they want to do. So it's all interconnected.
And their facility will be following whatever the state says they've got to.
Yeah, it'll be, CBRFs are regulated through the state. We have a little bit more flexibility on zoning because it's over 16 people. So that can be either assigned via conditional use or zoned. CBRFs of 8 people and under cannot be zoned. They're allowed in all zoning districts.
Okay. Any other questions of Robin? Nope. If not, I'd be looking for a motion.
I would like to make a motion that the Plan Commission recommends approval of ordinance 14-2024, 4216 Old Green Bay Road zoning map amendment, ZMA-24-5 certified survey map, CSM-24-2, and 4216 Old Green Bay Road conditional use, CU-24-2, subject to the recommended conditions for each of the items.
Second.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
Oh, we got a
One up
second.
here.
Tosh.
Okay, very good, thank you, Tosh. Motion is second, any further discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, I'll call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next will be USH 41S Site Plan Review, SP 24-12.
You guys do have an address for this property, right? I think I saw it in the application. It's like 1200 something frontage road, but the GIS still says 0, but that gives a thing. So, okay, Christopher Wright of R.A. Smith and Richard Bierman of RB Custom Designs applied on behalf of the owners of Truck City. construct a new 22,500 square foot trucking facility with a service center, auto body shop, and wash bay. The building is to service an existing fleet of vehicles and not for general use. The project is scheduled for completion in fall 2024. A note that this received a rezone and conditional use approval back in February. This meets the comprehensive plan and the zoning district of C4. C4 accommodates high-intensity commercial and high-intensity manufacturing uses and does not allow residential uses. Looking through basically the general application requirements, and I'm just going to be noting that the things that they didn't hit, otherwise they hit everything. They have some transparency calculations that are incorrect and need to be fixed. The parapets need to be consistently 36 inches around the facility. The sidewalk is a requirement. We require sidewalks or multi-use pathways along all sides of every lot line that abuts a public street. WisDOT has the final authority to require sidewalks in their right-of-way. This also applies to, they technically have a frontage along interstate highway, but since pedestrians and non-motor vehicles are actually forbidden from using that, they're not required to build a sidewalk along there. Those ones are about the pedestrian circulation system and the crossovers of drive aisles. So the parking layout and design, our alternative area, parking area layout and design was approved via conditional use 24-1. The conditions of that were that each truck space count as a proportional number of car spaces, which is 4. This doesn't apply to active loading areas. Any approved non-accessory large vehicle and semi-truck and trailer parking must have a taxable primary structure on the property that meets a 10% lot coverage ratio. They have that. It's like 10.5%. The village should not approve a new non-accessory large vehicle and semi-truck parking area within a tax increment district. This is within a tax increment district, but it's not non-accessory truck parking. It is kind of the whole point. It's just for those trucks that are in that fleet. If they were to open this up and allow other trucks to park there, then that would be violating this term. And under traffic impact analysis, you have an email from WisDOT about their analysis of the project. They did not recommend a traffic study, and they wanted the drive aisle to align with Globe Drive and a cross-access easement to be provided to the property to the north. We put in one of our conditions that we would like to see we would like to see the recording of that dedication be provided to the village. So outdoor lighting, that we did not receive specifications of building lighting, and then the applicant should submit a corrected color temperature of 3000 K instead of 5000 K. Also, we need details for the trash enclosure screening, and so this is the landscape part. We need the trash enclosure screening, and then a single species of canopy tree cannot be more than 50% of the total trees required. The celebration maples are 58%. Thanks, Sam, for catching that one. I didn't catch that one. So we need to submit some alterations to there. There were a couple other very minor things about the landscaping, but I do want to commend the applicant. When we received this application at first, it wasn't even close to meeting the landscape requirements, and then I informed them of those, and they were right on it and submitted a new landscaping plan that was like 99% there. So like hats off to them for recognizing that. So, and
On the landscaping plan, is everything along the west planting area relatively salt tolerant? Because they're gonna get a heck of a spray off the eye.
I am not sure. We do want them to provide what kind of native plant seedings and mixes they use. We recommend that they use the WisDOT no mow salt tolerant variety that they use along the highways, but that's up to them. They didn't provide the exact seed mix for that, so we can require that.
And the other thing, if they're gonna do a cross-access easement to the north, they're gonna move some trees.
Yeah.
So
they'll need
that, they'll have to fix that part.
As far as the fiscal impact, we're going based on their estimation of a $3.2 million assessable value for the facility. It does provide a 5.3 to 1 revenue to cost ratio, and 1 to 1 is net positive, and a public to private ratio of 20.48 to 1, and 40 to 1 is the net target. And it takes 8 years to repay. However, we don't pave that road. So that's a really big road, and that's state maintained. So kind of that adjusts the figures a lot. But even if it were ours, this is a sizable upgrade to what was there, and would pay for itself within a fairly short amount of time. The conditions are below my signature there. Do you have any questions for me? The applicant is also here to answer any questions you have about the facility.
Robin, I've got one question. Going back to the first page of your executive summary, it says the building is to service an existing fleet of vehicles and not for general use. Okay, is that important, that
Yeah.
it's existing fleet? And if it is, whose fleet? And what safeguards are in any of our approvals or permits that monitor the, that limited use and have some enforcement mechanisms?
So the conditional use is what it is. So conditional use says that non-accessory parking is not allowed within a tax increment district. So the existing fleet means that it's owned by and operated by Truck City, and those are in their fleet. They cannot basically rent out their parking spaces to contract truckers or other firms or anything like that, because that would be considered non-accessory parking.
What about, service center, auto body shop, and wash bay? Is that open to a wider public, or is that restricted to just their fleet?
We don't have as much of a kind of say on how that's restricted, but that would be a different use than what they submitted under.
The ordinances are really there to prevent them leasing out just the parking spaces for long-term truck parking. So if people are there to get, trucks or things serviced, that is okay with the truck parking. It's just, it can't be a truck parking lot for long-term storage like you'd see further up the interstate that frontage road. So it's kind of a subtle difference, but we're trying to avoid just general truck parking lots and have them tied to a specific use.
We seem to have enough of those. So but the staff is comfortable that the limitations on use is adequately covered by the conditional use, and
Yeah.
the owner understands as well what can be done and not done.
Yeah, and also the amount of space that they have. You just compare it to Rybar across the way. It's not even. It's multiple times more space if you're going to be in the business of truck parking. So we feel that between our conditional use and other enforcement mechanisms, that it's going to be fine. The zoning district would allow sort of a truck body shop or repair center by right, as it is. So they're allowed to do that, but we just don't want it to be parking.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions for Robin or Sam?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, Robin, I also had made a note on my folder, the existing fleet of vehicles, I'm glad you explained that is their vehicles and they cannot rent it out or use for somebody else.
Yes.
But to me, the word existing fleet is somewhat different meaning. Existing mean whatever the truck fleet they have, if
Yeah.
they buy something tomorrow, they cannot use it for.
No,
So instead of existing fleet of vehicle, would be better to maybe to service their own fleet of vehicles.
Well, the language I use in the executive summary isn't binding. That's just the language I picked. But I mean, just imagine if it was an Amazon facility.
No,
So
yes.
the Amazon trucks that are working in that facility are okay. They can't rent it out to FedEx, to park FedEx
Yeah,
stuff
no,
there.
I heard that, but again, I want to make sure that the reason I'm asking is I don't want the owner to have all the approval, and somebody down the road raise a question, oh, that was not existing, you just bought 5 more trucks there.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm not going to be able to prevent the owner from buying new trucks. He's not going to think about that.
Just wanted to clarify that.
No, that's a good observation, and so I'm glad that that's not the binding language in how this is going, because that is misspoke. Thank you.
Any further questions? Any questions of the applicant?
Take it the applicant's here?
Yeah, do you want to comment or say any piece? Okay.
No further discussion? Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning commission moves to approve the USH 41 site plan review SP-24-12, subject to the condition for approval as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Spring Trail Subdivision Final Plat, FSP 24-2. Sam?
All right. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the applicant applied to replat 13 lots within the former Spring Trail condominium plat. The plat does not modify the existing Spring Trail court right-of-way or the required bicycle pathway on Lot 4 of CSM 3487. The applicant wishes to convert the existing condominium units to individual for-sale lots. The homeowners association documents, we had a couple minor notes for update there, just in relation to assessment and village notice of common transfer or transfer of common areas, that we want to see those HOA docs updated. We can take care of that at the staff level. It's just 2 minor things. I'll commend Jeff for his very brief HOA documents. Normally they're like 17 pages long, and I think he got them on like 2-ish. So we like to see simple title work. The existing development agreement for the previous condominium plat covers this replatting, so we don't need a development agreement to go to the village board. All the letters of credit still stand from that condo platting. The application is subject to the land division approval procedures and meets the requirements of the final plat per the ordinances. Lots 1, 3, and 8 are wider than the maximum 120 feet allowed in the RL1 zoning district. And the applicant already applied for an administrative adjustment to widen those, which he's allowed to do by up to 15%. So that's in process. It's currently in the neighbor notification waiting period. If by next week we don't hear anything, that application should be satisfied. The Public Works Director has reviewed the submitted plans. The subdivider will follow all the construction ordinances, and they'll pay all the applicable fees. In terms of a fiscal note, you can see that there's a revenue to cost ratio of 2-to-1, a private to public ratio of 15-to-1, and the public liability repayment is 14 years. So this application pays for itself. In terms of additional staff considerations, we don't have any, and we just recommend the 2 conditions regarding the minor updates to the declaration of restrictions and the completion of the administrative adjustment application. After that, pretty straightforward, and we recommend approval. So, Jeff is here if you have any questions for him, but long story short, we don't get a lot of condo replatting, so they're a little bit complicated on the back end. You have to kind of vacate the condo plat and replat it, but this should be the final step, and he can finish off, sell the lots, and we can see some homes going up out there.
Sam, I was just curious, why you pick on 1, 3, and 8, and 9 and 2 are also 120?
9, sorry, so they can be 120, they just can't be greater than 120. So those ones are at the maximum width.
But, I mean, 1, 3, and 8 are even 120 also, aren't they?
One is on the curve, so I just required that one to get it out of coverage. And then 3 and 8 are on where it like bulbs out there. So if you add the curves with the straight part, it is over 120 feet. So that's why those ones are over.
Sam, I've got a question. I don't know whether it's a question for you or for the representative, but there's a reference in the materials that the homeowner association docs don't provide for a method of assessment of common areas and mandatory village notice of transfer of common areas. Since the village, or the staff has looked at the homeowners association, does there need to be, is there a mechanism in place when condos are, set up originally with so many units and so many lots, and that impacts everything about sharing of costs, common areas, et cetera. And now the developer's taking 13 lots out of that. They won't be condos. They won't be part of, I don't know if they'll still be part of the homeowners association, but have the documents adequately addressed? And again, I don't want to get into the minutia of homeowner documents, but as long as it came up, have the documents or are there methods in place so this will be a smooth transition? I just don't want to see the condo owners mad because this happens, or they're disappointed, or they're confused, or the new guys come in and buy a lot and suddenly they're caught up in a brouhaha over common expenses. So either if you can answer, or Jeff.
Yeah, at least from my side, I can say they meet all the, other than those 2 things we called out, they meet all the other required items that we need in HOA docs, which include the common cost sharing of facilities out there. So we were comfortable with that language. The common method of assessment is just to make sure that it's hammered out. Does it get apportioned to an individual organization? Does it get set out to the entire lots? There's different ways that you can do it. So it's just kind of a minor thing, but we can work through that. But everything else is in there, so we're comfortable with it on our end.
Okay. And then you just, obviously you have it in mind that once this is done, the assessments and common areas, the condo will be separate from these 13 lots and. You should go to the mic.
Yeah. Jeff, could I
I
just
mean,
ask you to
you
go up?
might need to
your
go to the
name?
microphone.
Just, we're being recorded, so.
So, I lost my train of thought. It's, okay, so I've told the 2 people that are living there, legally binding, I don't need their permission, but they are in the loop with what I'm doing here. And I have structured this new plat to hopefully alleviate any expense burdens. And the person that is actually buying all the single-family lots preferred that the pond stay on his property, and he's going to solely maintain it. And that is really, besides the building itself, the biggest expense. So I was able to at least help control that expense for them, that they will have no stormwater expenses. They will have an easement for their water to dump into the pond, but they won't have to maintain it.
All right, well, thanks. I just wanted some sense that it's been thought through in a reasonable and customary fashion. So that seems to be the case, so thanks.
Yeah, as reasonable as I can, I guess.
Jeff, could we just get your full name and address?
Jeff Badke, 1412 136th Avenue, Union Grove.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions of Jeff? Yes, go ahead.
Jeff, the map that we have on screen right now is quite confusing to me. It's not shown that the house that you have built on the corner of Stewart and Spring, there's already one building that you built probably a couple of years ago.
This is the new plat. This has nothing to, so we're not replatting the whole place. We're only replatting a portion.
Right here.
Yeah, I mean.
So there will still be 4 condos along Stewart, and that's not shown on there because that's not part of this plat.
Okay,
So
so that would
there's-
be under where we have marked lot 1 under dashed lines.
Yep. So if you, I don't know if you have the old one in front of you, but 1, 2, 3, and 16 on the old plat will still have condos on them.
Okay. That's all. Thank you. Just one clarification.
All right, any other questions? If not, for motion?
I move to approve the Spring Trails subdivision final plat FSP-24-2, subject to the recommended conditions.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? No public comment, no public question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jeff, good luck. Staff reports, none.
Holy cow.
And we need one more motion.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, commissioners and staff.